Well, thank you, and thank the MDA for this award. It's a great honor. And Dr. Matthews, congratulations. I've known Dr. Matthews for about 27 years ago when I on my first trip to Iowa. My gene therapy story really began when I was prayed for to be used in research. After that, about 2 years later, I read in the MDA Quest magazine that Dr. Kevin Campbell from the University of Iowa discovered a couple genes causing the limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. So I went to the University of Iowa and had a muscle biopsy done. And back then, they had to send my biopsy to France to be tested. Things have changed now. But Dr. Campbell called me on Thanksgiving Day, 1998. Said, Donovan, they've identified your gene as 2D. So I called and he said, by the way, this might be the gene they start with gene therapy. So I called Dr. Campbell back every month until April 23rd, 1999. Said they had a telecon the previous Friday, and you might want to call a guy by the name of Dr. Jerry Mendel because he's going to be leading the research. So I called Dr. Mendel, told him I'm a 2D patient that's interested in the gene therapy. And his reply was kind of like, well, I'm going to have to call or get a hold of Dr. Campbell to get all your information. And he said that might take a while. Well, 30 minutes later, Dr. Mendel called me back and he says, when can you get here? So my first trip to Ohio was in May of 1999. And I went through a lot of testing, a lot of blood work, and I had a lot of questions. And then Dr. Mendel asked me if I'd do the gene therapy. I said, well, let me talk it over with my friend who traveled with me, Mike Schmidt. So Mike and I talked it over that night at dinner, and actually it was supper because we're from the north. But we talked it over, and we're like, well, we knew it was going to be in the press possibly for a while. We thought that was pretty much it. Well, I couldn't have been more wrong. It's been a huge part of my life for the last 25 plus years. So then I told Dr. Mendel I'd do the gene therapy. I went back to Ohio at the end of June for some more testing just to get everything finalized. And during that trip, we were planning on doing the gene therapy the first week of July of 1999. Well, before I left, we had Dr. Mendel called me in and said, the recumbent DNA committee at the FDA has more questions. So we couldn't do it right then. So then we were on hold basically till September 2nd. So I went back to Ohio on September 2nd, and then we were able to do the gene therapy. My injections were a local delivery into the EDB muscle in my feet. Dr. Mendel was very good at explaining everything involved in the procedure. He explained that if my body had an adverse reaction, they would take the muscle out, and because they had mapped it out. And then I also met Dr. Hansel Stedman from the University of Pennsylvania, as he was there to assist. But Dr. Mendel made very clear to me, so Donovan, there's two things you need to know. If you do the gene therapy, you're not going to be able to be retreated again. The other thing was, he says it's a safety trial, so you're not going to get any help. So we did the procedure. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks and really learned a lot about Dr. Mendel and his commitment to his patients. It's not very often you get to spend 2 weeks with your doctor getting visits twice a day. These 2 weeks really helped me develop a friendship that I cherish to this day. Before I went home to South Dakota, Dr. Mendel wanted to check my feet one last time. So when he touched my foot, I said, ouch, and then I jumped. Then I started to laugh. The look on his face was priceless. He says, Donovan, if you would have done that the day of the gene therapy, I probably would have had a heart attack. And I said, I've been waiting 2 weeks to do that. A couple days after I got back to South Dakota, I heard about the death of Jesse Gelsinger. I called Dr. Mendel's office. Cheryl Wohl, his nurse, explained to me the difference that they used a different virus than I had. I think everybody knows the negative impact that the FDA stopped the research for roughly 5 years. Another impact was how it hurt the funding for gene therapy projects. Money started slowly coming back into gene therapy research around 2008, 2009 area. Fast forward 2013. In December, I talked to Dr. Mendel and he was going to be doing vascular delivery. So I told him I would do it. Well, he said we'd have to do a blood test to see if I had a titer, which I did 14 years later. He asked me if I knew of anybody else that would do the vascular delivery. So my sister, June Burney, was the first person to ever do vascular delivery, gene therapy in a lower limb infusion. She gained a little bit of strength. She was able to stand longer for about a year or two, but then she lost all the strength she gained. I'm thankful for the MDA for giving June an award for the important part she played in the research. My family has put a lot on the line to advance gene therapy for muscular dystrophy, but we've also taken some losses. Monica, Mary, and Jolene have all passed away from this disease. They died from respiratory failure, and that's what I'm going to have to deal with if a treatment or cure is not found. Like my family, other families have taken risk and losses. Like my friend Al Hempel and Sue Hempel, they lost their son Bill. And like Jen McNary, lost her son Austin. After Sparks Therapeutics had success using gene therapy in a trial for the eyes, and Dr. Mendel and Dr. Brian Kaspar had success in the SMA trials, which showed babies getting better and doing things SMA babies shouldn't be doing. Serious funding started to come back into gene therapy. I truly believe that if my injections hadn't started before the Jesse Gelsinger's death, I don't think we'd be where we are today in the muscular dystrophy. This is thanks because of the MDA. They paid for the preclinical research and my gene therapy trial. And I personally, I don't think the MDA gets enough credit for the contributions they made for the gene therapy for all types of muscular dystrophy. Today, there are 2 drugs approved that came from this research. And I hope that Dr. Mendel and Dr. Kaspar receive a Nobel Prize for their work someday. Looking back, there is something I wish I could change. I wish I could go back and change that I should have gone to Washington, D.C. after Dr. Mendel gave me my test results, because it was different, because of the different virus they used. I wish I could have went there and asked the representatives and the FDA to move the research forward because of the difference. I believe patients and their family can make a difference. For example, an advocate named Sherry Gunvalson contacted her senator, Paul Wellstone. Now they're for help. The late Senator Wellstone was a champion for muscular dystrophy. Now there are several muscular dystrophy centers that are named after him. We need more champions like Senator Wellstone in Washington today. My advocacy work started in 2001. That's when I testified in the United States Senate in the hearing with Jerry Lewis and others. I remember the comment that the late Senator Arlen Specter made. He said the federal government thought MDA was taking care of the muscular dystrophies. I believe the MDA replied was, yes, we are working on it, but we need your help. Out of this hearing came the MD Care Act, which I lobbied with Al Hempel in DC. I mainly worked with Senators Tom Daschle and Tim Johnson and Congressman John Thune, all from South Dakota. Many muscular dystrophy groups came together to pass the bill. This bill was passed in both chambers by unanimous consent. And it has been every year, every 5 years, been reauthorized since then. The MD Care Act, in my opinion, was very important for muscular dystrophy, as it set up the Muscular Dystrophy Coordinating Committee at NIH. One of the successes that the MDCC did was they developed a 10-year plan on a guide on how the federal government was going to advance research and help the MD patients. It also helped brought new doctors into the muscular dystrophy field with grants. I served 6 years on the MDCC and made some great friends. I testified in front of the FDA a couple times about limb-girdle muscular dystrophy through externally led patient focus groups. These meetings are impactful as the FDA is able to hear patient stories of living with the disease. During these meetings, I commented, we need to use a different outcome measurement than the North Star assessment. This excludes non-ambulatory patients. I also testified in front of the Department of Transportation about needing to get wheelchairs on airplanes. Today, I'm a member of the Limb-Girdle Community Advisory Board in Europe. And currently, I've co-founded a company named Angle Therapeutics that is working to finding a better delivery system for gene therapy in the light of redosing. And I'd like to say our scientific advisors are just as good as any company in the world. Regarding the future of advocacy, there's over 7,000 rare diseases in our country that represent 30 million Americans. Rare diseases affect, doesn't matter what political party you are, doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, and it doesn't matter where you live, and it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. There is a rare disease coalition in Congress that supports from all three parties. They are strong supporters for rare disease, with roughly 30 million Americans that have a rare disease. Just think of the number of people that know somebody with a rare disease. I would guess that probably 80 to 90% of the people in this country know somebody with a rare disease and would like to see them helped. We need to have friends and families contact their congressional representatives. The NIH funding for rare diseases is critical. This is not a handout. It returns approximately $2.50 for every dollar invested by the government. It creates thousands of jobs, but better yet, it extends thousands of people's lives. We need the NIH to function as it has the last 30 years. In seeing the success of the 2001 hearing, I think it's time we have another hearing. And you can, I guess they're showing my pictures. I would like you to go to the family picture, if you would, of all my family members. This is taken about 20 years ago. My three sisters that passed away, can you go back to that one and hold it, please? This picture here, the three sisters that have passed away, the one sitting next to me is Jolene. She passed away 2 years ago. On the other side, Monica passed away, I think, around 12 years ago, and Mary passed away around 6 years ago. Again, they all died from respiratory failure. So I just think that a lot of times people don't think that limb-girdle is as a fatal disease, but limb-girdle 2D is a fatal disease. In closing, again, I'd like to say thank you to the MDA for this award and let me share my family story. And I also want to say thank you to Jerry Lewis's son, Chris. We are here today because of your father's work. Please tell your family thank you. Also, Dr. Sharon Hesterly, as Sharon mentioned, we've known each other for 25 years roughly. She's been a godsend to me. Dr. Mendel, I say thank you. Dr. Campbell, I say thank you. I say thank you to all for all your work and friendships for the last 25 years. But most importantly, I want to say thank you to my wife, Kirsten. I'm a truly blessed man. Thank you.